This is a picture of I'm actually starting with buckwheat, but I'm going to inoculate the next round of cover crop, which would be oats and red clover. But I didn't go and till the whole acre of this new block. I tilled swaths because I wanted to maintain mycorrhizal connections plus the plant diversity that's already there. I love working with the native plants. And as you start to think about fungal connections, you start to recognize there are ways I can shift the growing that I do. I can be more fungal. We've been talking about this, just the mix of plants that are out there. This is a picture of a more mature tree in my orchard. The comfrey is there on the backside. Valerian, I also like how plants move around on their own. And valerian just said, I'm going to grow here. And we're going to learn about these small, tiny flowering plants. But I'm not doing much mowing here. And it's open. The living mulch effect of the comfrey is obvious. You know, I've wood chipped piles, doing that haphazard approach. Plants are growing through it. But you're seeing a tree soil ecosystem that it's not that meadow that looks more apparent outside. It's a different thing. The dynamic of the tree working with all these different plants creates that. There's many, many plants that you can grow that have relationship here. Just, again, hold on to that notion of passage plants. Not just bridge trees, but how the plant community has many different members. Very few fungi relative to the different plants. Planting things like daffodils around the trunk deters voles. So that might not be a thing you're going to do in a big commercial orchard, but it might make a lot of sense that you just make it less of a vole habitat right around your trunk zone. When we talk about all the little flowering plants, we'll get into the beneficial scene. Having something like red clover in the orchard. Bumblebee tongues are the only ones that can access the clover's nectar. Red clovers and crimson clover, bird's foot trefoil, are all plants that start to push things in a mycorrhizal connection. So when I'm prepping soil for an orchard planting, I like to finish with red clover because it starts to bring on that fungal component because it's a plant that does this. Nitrogen is fixed by red clover, you know, any of the legume family. Something like lupins. You don't think of this, but they're a legume. They're fixing nitrogen. You know, it doesn't have to be Canadian pea shrub, Siberian pea shrub. It's many different plants doing many different things, becoming part of that plant community. Beneficial accumulators are those small flowering plants that provide nectaries for adult beneficials whose larvae in turn, help us keep pest numbers in check. So the more you have, if you have rhubarb growing, not necessarily under your fruit tree, it can be right by it, but it can be across 50 feet away, and you let some rhubarb stalks go to flower. You know, don't think about just pies. It becomes a universe of all sorts of insects. When you have something like sweet cicely is a member of the parsley family, and it forms these little seed pods that are like good and plenty candy when they're fresh. It draws all kinds of arconid wasps, and you can just see the connection. Whenever you see bumblebees singing and smiling at you, it's because you have all these different things in flower. You know, it's all connected. Growing something like buckwheat, civet flies love buckwheat. Civet flies are those hovering flies. They look a little like honeybees, but they lay an egg when the aphids are present on the fruit tree. That's going to play a big role in keeping that in check. This book, I saw it was back on the table out there, details about 10 or 12 different ecosystems and the plants to consider getting into that ecosystem, specifically because of the connection with beneficial insects. It's highly recommended as a resource. So, in looking at all these plants, you start to see how there's different functions. We can kind of break this out if we want. But when people design a fruit guild, you know, they look at a plant that not just fixes nitrogen, but also plays a role with the bees. Maybe a living mulch connection. You know, not just comfrey. I love any big rooted plant that has big leaves, even things like burdock, because it creates more room in the humus for feeder roots. So even though there's burdock here and it's got this big base, it's also creating a dynamic in the soil where there's actually a lot of room around it. because it has those big fleshy roots. So all this types of these different purposes come into play when you're thinking about what's going on. This one's interesting. This is what I was introduced to in the mid part of the country. Leafy spurge has a milky sap that, when nicked, wounded, creates something, a dynamic that voles do not like to be around. So if this grows, then recognize that in the drip line, a few of these plants, we're still going to protect trunks from voles, but we start to create a dynamic where this isn't such a vole-happy place. Let's go somewhere else. This is a picture of my friend Linda Hoffman's new Asian pear orchard. No herbicide strips in sight. She's creating diversity from the get-go. Mountain mint is a plant that's big in this planting and draws all kinds of benefits.